Good afternoon and welcome to the Mentor Book Reviews. I am here today with Lily Luchesi. She is a paranormal thriller author and also a book blogger. She is a part of several publishing companies. What about those? Tell us a little bit about those companies.
Well, my main publisher is called Fantasy Publishing, and they publish only paranormal and horror. They're an imprint of CHBB Publishing, who does young adult, new adult, and the other company that I have worked with is Hotting Press, who is also under CHBB. So they're all run by Sarah, who is a really wonderful person who gave a lot of budding authors their first start, including myself. So there's 5 different imprints. There's for young adult, there's for LGBT, erotica, horror, young adult, fantasy. They pretty much publish everything and on separate imprints.
That's good. You also do book blogging.
Yes, I do. Under my quote-unquote real name. And I can't use my real name when I write because someone else has it, a cookbook author.
Oh, man.
The whole reason for the nom de plume in the first place.
Oh, man. Well,
that's actually how I found my publisher. One of their former authors had sent me his book to review. So I looked up the publishing company. I'm like, wow, I like what these people do. So that's one definitely good thing my blogging got me.
Yeah, and you've been great about supporting other authors yourself, so that's very much appreciated.
Well, I love to. I love reading, and I started book blogging before I was even sending things out to publish. I was 17 when I started my blog. So.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
Yeah, it's been going on for almost 6 years now.
That's wonderful. So what attracted you to the horror paranormal genre? I know I've compared you to Stephen King several times.
Yes, you have, and I still can't believe that. Actually, what got me into it, I've been into it my entire life. I blame my mother. She loved Scooby-Doo when she was a child. She put it on for me, and the first thing I ever watched had Count Dracula in it.
Oh,
and
man.
It was pretty much an obsession from then on. So I can't say that I ever really got into it because I always have been. And I picked up my first Stephen King novel when I was 14.
And which one was that?
Rose Madder, actually. It was at one of those free book library things where you just take a book, leave a book. And I had seen Carrie on TV, the movie, but I'd never read any of his work. I'm like, you know what? I'll start with something that's a little bit more obscure. And that was it for me. I've read everything he's written by now.
Well, I'll say it again. I think you will be the next Stephen King.
Thank you. When I read your review of Stakeout, when you said that, I almost burst into tears. I showed my mom. She totally burst into tears. And, yeah, it's amazing to even have someone have said that.
Well, it is true. So Danny Mancini, he is your protagonist. He is forced into early retirement after a very odd encounter. And he kind of lives his days idly, just kind of moping around, depressed, until he meets Angelica Cross. And they go on a mission to hunt down the vampire who attacked Danny. What would you like to say about Stakeout?
What I want to say is I never expected to write it. Actually, I was watching a TV show called Motive, which is a crime show from Canada, and I just got the idea watching one of the lead actors thinking, what would any of these people do if they had to face a vampire? What would any of them do if their real world suddenly got turned upside down? So I had the prologue written, and it was originally just going to be a novella. It was going to end extremely badly. It was going to be, and all of a sudden I thought about the second book, which is Miranda's Rights. And I'm like, well, okay, I need to change the ending here because I wanted, and it was supposed to end with Miranda's Rights, and it just kind of kept going, and now I'm supposed to have 5 books in the series instead of the 1.
I was going to ask if you were planning anything after Life Sentence.
Oh, yes. Life Sentence ends on a cliffhanger. So I have the 4th book, which is called Right to Silence, which will be coming out January 17th. And I'm currently working on the 5th and what I believe will be the final book in this series. I have no release date for that yet, but it'll probably be summer 2017 or around that.
Well, I must say you've done a good job of incorporating the romance into it between Danny and Angelica. That's really good. I like that, and I'm not really a romance fan, but
Neither am I, actually.
I think you did a good job of portraying that.
Thank you. Actually, when I was writing Stakeout, I hadn't originally intended it to be romantic at all. It was going to be the one scene where they get together in Angelica's apartment, and then the fight they have after that. That was going to be it. There was going to be no more romance whatsoever. But as the story kept going and I started realizing about Danny's past life, I'm like, no, this has to happen. And I actually had reviewers write me telling me they wanted more romance. And these are horror authors. These are people who hate romance. And they wrote me, they're like, you do a great job with this. Please keep it up. So yeah. I hope I've done well. The reviewers for the other 2 books seem to like where I've taken the characters.
Yeah, I do agree with them. You did a good job at that on that account. Now, I haven't had the chance to review Miranda's right yet, but I understand it involves a werewolf.
Yes, actually, there is a recurring werewolf character who you met in Stakeout, Bart, and who runs the armory for the Paranormal Investigative Division. He recurs throughout the first 4 books at least.
Oh, okay.
But in this one, I'm not a big werewolf person. I've always been, the Lycan versus vampire. I've always been on the vampire side. But there are cursed werewolves that the witch Fiona, who you also meet in Stakeout first, she uses her magic to curse werewolves and then uses vampire blood to enhance them as well. And they're kind of a human-werewolf hybrid that everyone has to fight.
Wow, so you really got the horror and the paranormal down. That's good. You've got your vampires, werewolves, witches, just pretty much anything you can imagine.
Yeah, there's going to be, starting in book 3, there's going to be demons. And the demons are going to go over into book 4. And into book 5, there's going to be sirens as well. I've never written a siren before, but I got a really cool idea for one. So, and I want to see how he plays into the story a little bit. Well, you said that's in the future.
Well, and you make these paranormal characters so human-like that it's hard to even believe that they are vampires or werewolves because they've got such human. It's like they've got a soul, if that makes any sense.
Yes. Well, werewolves technically, I believe, have souls. I'm not quite sure about vampires yet myself, but what I had wanted to do was I love the classic vampire, just soulless killer, which is Vincent Cross in Stakeout. Mm-hmm. He's one of my favorite villains I have ever written because he's so old-fashioned, but I always thought that in the fictional world, if these creatures want to survive, they have to adapt to humanity. And that's pretty much been Angelica's job, is to help everyone adapt to being human so they don't get hunted and killed.
I'm trying to word this in a way where I don't give spoilers, but how does Angelica feel about having to work on the case she's working on?
Well, Vincent is actually the reason that she started the Paranormal Investigative Division to help her hunt him. He wasn't her first case, but he was her first official case because he killed her mother. So she actually, after 180 years, she actually wants him dead.
Oh.
There's no love lost there. It's, I want to kill you.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the grisly death scene where she witnessed her mother being killed. I don't blame her one bit.
That was fun to write.
Well, what are your plans for writing in the future? After do you have any other ideas beyond this paranormal series?
I do. I have. Actually, it's going to be a paranormal. I was actually thinking about doing a clean read, but that's kind of in the planning stages. I have a collection of short horror stories that I would like to get out as well. Mm-hmm. And the Siren that I'm going to introduce in book 5, I'd like for him to get his own book. I've never written straight up historical fiction before, and I would like to do a World War II paranormal novel.
Oh,
I've been
wow.
kind of reading up on that a little bit. And yeah, I get a lot of ideas, and I have actually about 4 different projects that I'm working on to release hopefully within 2017, 2018.
And you mentioned one time that you stick to a word count. You're pretty disciplined about sticking to your word count of, what was it, 2,000 words a day?
Yeah, I try. There are days where I don't make it. There are days I'll go up to 8,000 words, but I try and at least get, depending on how I'm feeling, 1,500 to 2,000 a day. I mean, I do take at least one day off where I don't write anything at all to kind of recharge.
That's always a good idea. So your writing process, you just kind of go with it, or do you have an outline? Or
I start out with a general plot. I usually write about half the book before a lot of people outline very detailed. What I do is I write down how many chapters I want it to be, because I try, and then I write down one sentence, what I want to happen in that chapter, and I let everything else happen a bit more organically. I'm more of a seat of your pants writer than a plotter.
Yeah.
I've never been a plotter. I like to surprise even myself.
Yeah, that's probably the best way, because you never follow your own plot outlines. Well, I'm very much looking forward to reviewing Miranda's Right and Life Sentence. Anything else you'd like to add?
I think what I'd like to add for the people who are just starting the series is not, because I've been asked this question many times, so I'd like to clear it up. Please don't expect Twilight. Don't, because we have talked about the romance, don't expect that to hinder the story, because as the series goes on, a lot of things are going to change. There's actually a scene in the book that's coming out in January that startled even me. There's going to be, for people who have read books 1 and 2, book 3, Life Sentence, also introduces a couple of new characters, humans, because I like to explore the psychic side of Danny. So I know how you had mentioned how he saw what happened to Angelica's mother. For the people who enjoy all of those visions and flashbacks, there's going to be a lot of those in book 3. And for the people who liked Vincent, there's a lot of his backstory. Book 3 is almost half of his backstory.
Oh, wow. That sounds exciting, and I look forward to checking it out. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me this evening, and I will post the links to these books on the YouTube video, and thank you again. And
thank you for having me, and thank you for always supporting my work as well. I appreciate it.
Well, it's my pleasure. Anytime. Have a nice evening. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.